Yes, Sunny, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So today I'm going to describe about the Power BI embedded analytics. So this is going to be a 3 day session, and the first session will be based on the SDK implementation and as well as the API implementation of Power BI, so that we can incorporate both Power BI API, so that because the advantage of API is that you can use it in any language, and the advantage of SDK is that it is better secured. It is it will provide all of the functionalities and everything it will uh, give us to associate anything we need with Power BI embedded functionalities. So let me first start step by step, like how we can. This session is going to be a total hands-on based session. So every time we will be doing some coding, and we'll be doing some feature integration and preparing all the accounts, registering applications. We'll do all of the things, and we'll go step by step. So first, the first thing we need for Power BI embedded is that we need a pro account. Every time we are going to access Power BI, we need a pro account, or you can register for a Power BI account with 60 days trial. After the trial, Power BI will force you to purchase the account, or any reports or dashboards that remain within that account will be expired and will not be able to have it unless you purchase. So like this is our contents. I'm hopeful to cover these points in next 1 hour, which is our backend solution will be developed using the Visual Studio. I hope you all have Visual Studio, right?
Yes, we have.
Okay, perfect. So we will be integrating the SDK in a Visual Studio solution, and we will go through the API calls that Power BI interface provides, and uh, we will be using those API calls through the SDKs as well, and we will see some works with access levels. Now, uh, this is the Power BI admin portal. I have created an account for our test purposes for today. You can let me share the account with you. So this is our account for test. We will be using this username and password for embedding. Now the first thing is that you have to register for a Power BI account. You can do the registration by yourself or by the Power BI admin portal provided by your IT administrators. You can contact them. So I have a domain. This is my domain, acibdltd.onmicrosoft.com, and I have created a test account. So when you are about to create an account, there are some things that you may have to notice. For example, I'm going to add a new user. You have to give first name, last name, display name. So you have to fill up this information and the username, which should be unique under this domain name. And you can generate the password. I'm going to escape these things. So for example, if I just leave this, and it will auto generate a password for you. I have created a password, simple. So this is a temporary password. Then I'm going to select next. Now this is the option when you will be purchasing Power BI Pro. You will see that you have some licenses available here. When I created this account, like test at acibdltd.onmicrosoft.com, I just choose Power BI free, which is unlimited for a domain, and you can use it for only 60 days. Is that clear?
Yeah, it is.
Are you okay up to this point?
Yes, yes, Sunny.
Okay, okay. So this is totally the licensing issue. You can also use Microsoft Flow, Power Apps, anything you wish, and you have to just assign the user with these licenses. So this is the license management portal which you'll be needing to create Power BI account as well as Power BI embedded. Now, after doing and finishing the rest of the steps, finally you will get an account like this. And I have previously, like I said, I generated this password. Now I can easily use this password to log into Power BI portal. Let me log in again. Okay, now I'm logged in. After logging in, Power BI will redirect you to the default My Workspace, which we are not going to use because this is the default workspace. And embedding here, we will do the embedding in a premium workspace or a pro workspace. Like when I'm going to click the create a workspace, they are going to say that I have to upgrade my account to have the pro feature, or I can try pro for free, which is 60 days. Then I have to click start trial. Then our trial started for this account for the next 60 days, and we'll be able to enjoy all the Power BI Pro account feature for the next 60 days. After that, we will be creating our workspace for today's hands-on. We will name it like PBI Live, for example, and we can give a description that and then we will just save it and our workspace is up. You can see that now we have the option PBI Live. When developing for client reports or for some software companies or organization, it is suggested that you create 3 workspaces, which is the dev, the test, then live. When you are working, use the dev workspace. When you are testing, using the test workspace. And when it is time to deploy to the live environment, then you can just publish that report to the live workspace. So we have the live now, and this is the way, and this is the way how we have created a Power BI Pro feature trial account for the 60 days. So this is the information here. I have just shared the screenshot when we created Power BI free account. Then they showed the username and password we have created. And once we have the password of Power BI Pro account, now we have to create a registration portal for this account in Azure. So what is happening here is that when doing embedding, you have to connect Power BI to Microsoft Azure as well. So how can we do that? Let's first start this phase. I have shared URL of this site. They have clearly mentioned everything step by step to do embedding analytics. So I'm just going to the steps briefly so that everything is covered in this session. First, you have to go to dev.powerbi.com. They will say that since I am already logged in with my test account, they're saying that I am signed in. Now I have to go to next. If you are not signed in, you have to sign in first using their sign in button. Then I have to register the application for whom I am going to do embedding analytics. Here I am going to give the application a name. For example, I am going to say it PBI test November 2019. This is my application name, and Power BI gives you option for two types of application. One is a server-side web application, which is the convenient place for calling the web app. We are going to select the native application, which is a simple, which runs on mobile devices, tab devices, Windows, web, everywhere. So I'm going to select application type here.
Sunny,
Yeah.
I've got a question.
Yes.
In which scenario should we use serverless and which scenario native?
Okay. So for the server side application, like when you need to develop some APIs, they are not direct APIs, but they are wrapper APIs over Power BI, and you are going to expose the Power BI solution in the forms of API or web application only. In those purposes, you need the server side. But when you have only one Power BI Pro account and you need to expose your entire reports and dashboards to numerous number of users, you have to go with embedded and create a wrapper layer over the Power BI Pro account and share reports to the users with one Power BI Pro account user with its embedding features. Now, and you need to, and this feature will give you option to view the report also in mobile tabs. Like I'm coming to these points as well in the upcoming time. So this is the best option for native purposes. You can choose this option.
Okay.
But when you have to expose the features for API based purposes, when you're going to develop APIs as well, then you may need server side web applications. So I have picked native. Then I have to give the API permissions that are needed. So for examples, I'm going to select everything here, because if you give every permissions, then there is no need to worry for further permission adding. So just select everything, and you can see that the permissions that are giving the permissions you are giving to this application is reading dataset, reading dashboard, reading report, reading workspaces, capacities, data flows, everything. Every permission that is provided by Power BI, you are now giving this app, providing each and every permissions to this app. Now I'm going to register, which is very simple. Just clicking the register button, it will give you an application ID, which we have to copy. So I'm going to copy the application ID. This is my application ID. So this phase is done. I'm going to close it. Our app has been registered successfully. Now I have to log in to Azure. So you can see that here I have logged in to this portal.azure.com without any sort of registration required. I have just logged in using this account that I am also at the same time using for Power BI. Now after logging in, I have to search for app registrations. This feature we will be using is called app registrations. So in the app registrations, if you just remember that we create an app named November 2019, you will find it available here. PBI test November 2019 that we created using the dev.powerbi.com portal, but is now also available in the PBI test November 2019. This is how Power BI has already integrated the app into Microsoft Azure. Now let us click this app. This is the app portal, and you can see that we noted an application ID which started with 058, ended with A39C. It is also available here. The same ID, it is also available now in the Azure portal. Okay, so now we have to go to API permissions. these are the same permissions that we selected all in the dev.powerbi.com.portal. We selected and radio a checkbox name select all permissions. All of these permissions are now listed here that we selected at the time. The most important thing and the purpose for which we are here is that we have to give grant admin constant for these permissions. If you do not click this button, permissions will be available to the report, but admin is not giving any consent to utilize those permissions. So it is just like over confirming that you are going to give the application proper permission to read dashboard, to read report, to get token, to get proper access, etc. So you have to give a grant consent option. They will again present you a list of options that you are going to give to the Power BI app, and you have to select the accept button. So they will finally let you know that proper admin consent has been given to this PBI test November 2019 application. Once it is done, you are now good to go with embedding SDK. So just to summarize, so far what we have done is that according to this site, we have moved to dev.powerbi.com. We have registered an app. The app name is, this is our app name. This is our app's application ID. And we have assigned some permissions to this app so that using this application ID and app, we can interact with Power BI APIs. So are you guys clear to this point?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Ishwan, are you clear? Ishwan?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So our app is created. Our application ID we have with us now, and we have also registered the app into Azure portal with proper permissions delegated by admin consent. Now, once this phase is done, they have everything. They have covered how you are going to these things into their portal. What happens when you select the server side? When you select the server side application, along with application ID, you will get another application secret that you will also have to note so that you can use it in the Visual Studio solution that I'm going to run the solution in my machine within some minutes. They have everything here suggested. What we have done, everything has been given here. Now let's move to the Power BI solution. Simply you have to search to Google that Power BI app owns data. It will take you to the Power BI provided sample solution where everything, each and everything is available in the SDK. You can see that these repositories are always updated. They make regular push to these repositories. They make regular updates. So you can simply clone this, or you can follow their instruction. So I'm going to cover the instructions that they have provided so that you do not have to read or spend time on it. Simply put the required information that you have to provide here. If you come to the Power BI app owns data, you will see that let me come over to, this is the main point. I'm going to share this URL because it is very important. Also in the PowerPoint application, it is also already there, but still I'm sending it over Skype. You have 4 sort of applications based on your requirement. If you are using .NET Core, go for the .NET Core sample. If you are using Node.js, go with Node.js version. If you are working with app-owns data, go for it, or user-owns data. Today, I'm going to cover the app-owns data because I have used it in several applications. It is based on very simply ASP.NET MVC5, and it works good. You can go with clone or download it, or you can simply run the git command to download. I'm going to copy this thing, and I am come to this folder. I can create a folder in my machine. I'm going to open the CMD. I have already git installed in my machine, so I'm going to clone the application, and it will start fetching all the folders from the git repository to my machine. So let it be downloaded. I have already downloaded it so that it doesn't take our time, because it takes some minutes to get it downloaded properly. Once you have downloaded, you'll see that there is a folder named Power BI Developer Samples will be available in your machine. It will have .NET Core, API samples, user data, and also the app-owns data, which I just copied paste earlier. So when let's see how much it is downloaded. Okay, let's first download it. There are some things that I have to share with you. You can ask me any question if you have to know in the meantime.
Okay. No, Sunny, everything is clear till now.
Okay, perfect. So just a few things which I can discuss when it is downloaded. It is almost done. So we will be using the application ID, this application ID for Power BI Embedded. We will be using these two things, which we can call PBI username, and the next is PBI password. One more ID is coming. I will share when it's time to integrate. But so far we have this information, and this information we are going to directly using in the solution that we are downloading.
So Sunny, while it is downloading, so is this the same process which you followed in Tempio project?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
But the project that Harzel shared, it is a little bit different. So the Harzel approach And the in-tempio approach, if you say that these are two different approaches, Herzl approach is based on API call. They are not going to use, they didn't use any SDK. In the in-tempio, we used the core Power BI SDK.
Which we are using now, right?
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Okay.
I think that gives taking time. I have already downloaded it using the clone option here. You can find the you can just also clone it and download it as a zip file, which is faster, I think. And I simply copy paste it and just make a new folder here. Okay, so once it is completely downloaded, you will get these 4 folders exactly as in the Git, no changes. And like I said, we are going to work with the app owns data. Now I have copied it and just pasted it in a different folder for our today's discussion. I have made a folder named solution.web.project in my machine, and I have just copied the app owns data here, and here is my solution, which if you just open, you will get these folders. Let me open it in front of you again. So this is our solution.web.project, and inside we have just copied the app owns data. And now I'm going to open the Visual Studio solution. My version is Visual Studio 2017. Right after you open this thing, these codes are provided by Microsoft. They have provided everything that you need. The ASP.NET MVC formatted layering, like we have controllers, we have models, we have views, everything. I'm just going to discuss the components that we'll be needing only, because they have a vast things here, all of the functionalities of the SDK. We do not need everything, but maybe when you are working with most very deeper components, maybe you may need some features. But generally, when just getting a token from the SDK or working with the SDK to embed tokens, just simple calls are enough. It is not complicated, it's very simple. So let's first come to the web.config, which is the vault and storage for all of our credentials. So from here, we will be putting this information that we just collected some time ago. So when you open the web.config file, it is very clear-cut information what you have to put. The first thing here is that application ID. Remember, we have an application ID we just created. We have to copy it and put it here. We need a workspace ID. Workspace ID is, we registered a 60 days trial and we created a PBI live workspace, and here is our workspace ID. When you have some other workspaces, you will get the corresponding workspace ID as well. The workspace ID, which we have just collected from the app.powerbi.com portal, and we have to put it in the Visual Studio solution in the workspace ID. Now the report ID, by default, if you put a report ID, when you run the solution, this default report ID will be displayed as a report in the portal when we will run the full Power BI application. So in order to have a report ID, let us first deploy just a sample application to our Power BI portal. So I have just opened an application which contains some DAX queries, some standard deviation formulas. I'm not going to discuss in depth about how these are calculated. Just consider it as a sample report. Now I am going to log in to the account that we have created so that we can publish our reports there. think that we are connected to the test session account. Yeah, we are connected. Now this report is in import mode. As a result, we do not need any database here. Today, before our discussion, I just prepared this report because I had some fixed text queries, fixed data set connected to a database. I can share a view of the database. This is the database. These are the data that is coming in this report, and some calculations are happening here. But after connecting this database to this Power BI report and bringing up all the data, I just switch to import mode so that I do not need to connect to any database. Because if you go with direct query, then there is a backend database every time you have, and you need to make a live connection and you need a gateway. But if you go with import mode, then you do not need a gateway and you can just keep your data there. And since you do not have any gateway, your data will not be refreshed. Is that clear up to this point?
Yes, Sunny.
Yes.
Okay. So just consider it as a simple report. We have incorporated the data using import mode, and we have some drop downs, we have some bar chart, that's thing. Now we are going to publish. So the workspace, that PBI live that we were created, we are going to publish there.
Okay.
I think that there is a restriction here.
Is this the same user login which is having pro license?
I'm testing, I'm checking.
Yeah. Sunny, check pro count.
Okay, I can do that, no problem. I have a pro license here, maybe. It is not happening because let me add it temporarily.
But it's not showing license, means
It had one license, now it is 0 because I have assigned one.
okay. Okay. So is it not possible with 60 days free trial?
Earlier I tested and at that time it was possible, but now I am seeing that it is not possible. So I think it is now premium, and I hope the pro license has been attached to this.
Do you want me to assign you a pro license?
Just give me a second, give me a 1-2 minute, couple of minutes to connect, because I think I have connected a pro license with this user.
Okay.
So it may take a few minutes to have it. I think the license has been added here. Okay, it's been published. Sometimes Power BI takes a few minutes to
Assign the license.
associate the license to the user. Yeah, so that took some time. So it's now the report has been published. So after the report has been published, now we have the report here, the CPI report and the report, and we can just take. You can see that the group ID here we take is same as the group ID here, because same as the group ID here, D5E, it is D5E, because we are publishing the report under this workspace, and we are going to take the report ID here as the default report, so that when the solution runs, it opens this report. Or you can give any other report ID here. That report ID will be considered as the default report ID to be open when the solution is run. Then the authority URL. These things are provided by Power BI, and we are not going to change anything here.
Okay.
So this is the API URL. It will be automatically used by the source code here to connect to this API URL, and they will use the authority URL to authenticate, and the resource URL to bring resource from Power BI. And the embed URL and API URL, they are same. Not same. This is the app.powerbi.com where we are just hosting our report, and this is the api.powerbi.com from where we are going to call the API. The next two things here is that username and password. We have the username and password here, which we are going to simply copy paste here, but it is not advised or suggested to leave username and password in the source code. The best thing is that we will we'll put the username and password in environment variable, and we'll call the environment variable from this Visual Studio solution. I am going to cover this thing in a few minutes, but first let us first assume that we have put our username and password in the source code in the web.config file. Now the application secret it is not required by us, but we have to put a tenant. Now how we can go find the tenant? In order to find the tenant, we have to come to the Azure portal that we were, and you can just type Azure Active Directory, this thing here, and you need the directory ID, which is also called the tenant ID. You can come to the properties, and you will see that there is a directory ID. You can copy it.
ईश्वरन ने किया और सेशन में क्या अप्रोच किया
ये वो पहले वाले सेशन में कहा था उसमें
जो पहला सेशन में
So when we have this directory ID here, we have collected it from the Azure portal, and we have just copied it here, and now we are going to put this directory here. Everything is done. We have provided tenant or directory ID, username, password, report ID, workspace ID, application ID. Our solution is ready now.
Sunny,
Yes.
one question here. If you can go back to previous screen where we have put the tenant ID.
Yeah.
So what is this tenant ID for?
Okay. This is the Azure portal, which by default comes when you create when you create a user account in the Office 365 admin portal, when that account is created, app.powerbi.com corresponding user is also created, and a default Azure account is also created for that user that you created in Office 365 admin portal. And each account comes with a directory ID, which is used by the Visual Studio solution here also. And in order to authenticate anything with Azure, you need this directory ID.
Okay.
So, and it has also other lot of usages, like for example, in many organizations where each and every user account that people use to log in into their laptop or machine, it is directly connected to the Azure. So if you have any account that you use to log in onto your laptop machine, which is the domain account, that can be integrated with Azure, and for that integration you also need the directory ID.
Okay.
So yeah,
So
so
this
for
directory ID is tenant ID. Is that right?
yeah, right. And we are going to use it for our authentication purpose, and for the time being we can only consider that this directory ID is going to be needed for authentication with Azure.
Okay.
Now, since the directory is assigned, I'm just going to run this code. Okay, it is the default interface that the solution that we have downloaded from Microsoft portal. This is just a default view they have provided. If you can come in this index file, you can see that there is an embed report URL, embed dashboard, embed tile. This is some default option they have just provided. Now we are going to click the embed report. Because we have only embedded a report, we have not embedded any dashboard, or we have not embedded any embed tile also. So it will take us to the embed report page, and you can see that our report, this report has now been successfully embedded into our localhost IP. So are you guys clear up to this point?
Yes.
Okay. Now the thing is that, like the question was asked, why we were going to choose the native, not the server based or other criteria. Now the thing is that you can see this is our URL. This is our application's URL. We can host it any place, anywhere, in either in Azure, either in AWS, or any place. And we can give this URL after hosting to any client, anybody, to check our report. That client now do not have to log in to Power BI or anything else. He will simply click this report, click this URL, and just come and just visit this report. And the rest of the authentication that were needed already done by us using this web config and some codings already provided by Microsoft, and we will change them a lot later. So this is how embedding has been done, and we have embedded a Power BI report successfully into our web page here. Now there are lots of things to work or interact with this report, which we will be coming in our second session on day 2, where we will be discussing how to remove this filter pane, which is seen here, how to enlarge the size of the report, how to interact with it, a lot of things that will be coming, which we will be doing with the JavaScript APIs. But today our discussion scope was up to SDK, and we have utilized the Power BI SDK to call these reports. Okay, now one question may come is, since we are using SDK, if you simply Google here, Power BI REST API, Power BI provides a very good list of REST APIs as well. Now, since they have given REST APIs, then what we have done in this Visual Studio solution. So there's a difference obviously between these two. Okay, so this is the list of REST APIs. All the features that you see here, data sets, data flows, then embed token. Then if you click this embed token, these are the functions that generates the token. If you click generate token, this is the call for the generate token through which we get a token and we get a response, and in return we get the dataset ID, the report ID, and obviously the token ID, the token name, and the expiration value, the number of seconds the token will be alive. All of these APIs that you see here are now inside this solution. So you have both the version. You can give the raw call through here, or you can use just the SDK to see everything in action. Now, what is happening inside the SDK? Just give me a little brief overview. If you just put a debugger point, you can also check everything by put a debugger point, what is happening inside the code. But to give a short description, the core important component are these two services through which everything is happening. First is the iEmbed service. This is the interface where we have the config, then report, then dashboard, then tile. These are the functions. And this embed service is implementing this interface. And you can see that here we have all the 6 variables that we set in the web.config file, the application ID, workspace ID, username, password, tenant, everything we have in the web.config. We are now reading them in the embed service using the configuration manager. So everything clear up to this point?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so no question.
No,
Sunny, I had a question. If we
Yeah,
have
please.
multiple dashboards,
Yeah.
so how would we import, how would we embed them? Means if we have multiple reports, we can, but what about multiple dashboards? In that scenario, what can we do?
Okay.
Because
Okay. Okay. So let me just move to a portal. In order to embed multiple dashboard, you have to code. So it is one of my panel where embedding is implemented. I have multiple reports here. So just let me to my here. Maybe I'm connected with another. Just let me check.
Probably you removed this account's Power BI Pro license.
Maybe no, but just there is something with the session. Just let me check. Okay, I'll be coming to your question shortly, but
Maybe you
first,
can address that tomorrow, Sunny.
yeah, I'll be addressing that tomorrow. But let's first cover our today's scope up to SDK. So the thing is that we have authority URL, resource URL, application ID, API URL, workspace ID, report ID. These things we are reading from the web.config file, and here we are setting proper values. This code is completely provided by Microsoft, so we do not, it is not required to change. We can simply use their code. Now the thing is that when you click the embed report, like you see that here I have called the home controller embed report. The embed report here. When you hit the embed report, then this function is called, and inside this function, this is the part where authentication is happening. See, first we are creating a client with the API URL and the token credentials, and the token credentials are coming first using the get token credentials, where our username password is used. So when the token credentials are achieved in this function, then you can see the reports through the workspaces. So like you mentioned that when you have multiple reports, what to do? If you set a debugger point here, and let me publish another report, just let me publish it now so that this thing is clear to you. Now I have published a second report into our portal, and when you just go to the power, when it is publishing is done, we can just close it, and we can see that in our portal we have now 2 reports. Now let's set a debugger point here and run the application and see what is inside the reports. Just check this out. That will answer the question for the case when you will be needing multiple reports. Okay, now I am pressing the F10 button, and you can see that inside the reports the number of count is 2. Can you see this?
Yes.
Perfect. And if you go to the value, you have the 0th report, which is the CPI all, and in the second you have the correlation opportunity. So now you have get multiple reports in your code, and the option is yours which report you want to expose to the users. So you can simply just code in your Visual Studio solution and make some hyperlinks in your solution with the report ID. Just only you need the report ID. If required, I can I will develop the code for tomorrow's session, and I will share when you will have multiple reports how you can work. So like this is my second report, this is my first report. When you will be deploying 10 reports in total into your solution, you will see that there will be 10 reports here and the count will be 10.
Okay.
So you have to just manage it now, how we are going to expose the reports. Since in the web.config file, we give a default report value to be shown. So what happens is that you can see that if I go to here, and this is the report ID. This is the report ID 817C87. This is the report ID, and this is the report ID of the absolute analysis, which is the 817. This report ID is by default, since we set through web.config file the validation after going through this if else. This report is showing here, and it is now coming here. Now if we need to set the second report as the default report, we can just come here, come to this correlation report. We have to just take this report ID and we have to put it in the web.config file that we have. We have to just replace this one with this report ID and then just run this application.
आप एक साथ देखना चाहते हैं ना, ये नहीं तो ये बटन दबा के okay. बोलो बोलो, शर्माओ मत. Karan has a question, Sunny, sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So Sunny, what if we wanted to see both the reports, one below the another?
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that also.
So we'll have to set. We'll have to make changes in the JavaScript file.
Yeah. You have to do that.
Okay.
You have to do that. You have to make then 2 calls to get
Yeah.
2 tokens for 2 reports.
Okay. पॉसिबल वो बटन में भी 2-3 डाल सकते हैं.
Okay.
So not only a report, you can also embed a dashboard here. For embedding the dashboard, it is simple. You have to come to the Power BI workspace here, and for example, you want to pick it, you want to pin it and call it a dashboard. For example, maybe dashboard name, let's say that test dashboard, and maybe you need something from here as well, and just you can take it like dashboard and just go to the dashboard to see we have 2 widgets in dashboard, and the group ID and the dashboard ID is same here. Now we have to do some coding here. When embedding the dashboard, everything is same. So this is the dashboard embedding. So you can do both. You can embed a report or you can embed a dashboard. That's it.
Perfect.
If you just see the source code here, see, because I do not have to put any dashboard ID, because in this line, if there are multiple dashboards or any dashboard in my account, it will pick the first dashboard that it finds in the list. So you can make the first one as the default, or you can simply put your dashboard ID by bringing it from here.
Okay.
So when you have to manage multiple reports or dashboards, you have to make this dashboard ID dynamic, so that any URL or link, anything is clicked, corresponding dashboard ID is passed to this function. I will be covering this tomorrow.
Okay, Sunny.
So since now I'm going to just deploy last more thing. I want to deploy this thing. So all of you have worked with IIS server, right?
Sorry?
IIS server?
Yes.
Okay. So you just need to publish the whole solution after going to the publish button. I'm going to make a folder based publish and just opening I'm going to publish the solution here. And once it is published, published code ready here, then I can log into a server. I have just copy pasted the solution files after deployment in this IS server. And I'm just going to make it a web application. That's it. Now our application should be live. This is a real IP of mine. I'm just using it for test purpose. I will be removing it shortly, but just for demonstration purpose, you can click it or check it now. And it is live now. You can embed the report and the dashboard as well. So here is the embedding of report, and here is the embedding of dashboard. And you can also just embed tile. The tile is this thing, just this portion. For example, this is a tile, and if you only need to embed only this portion, you can also embed a single tile as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was for up to today's session, how we can use the SDK in a Visual Studio solution file. And tomorrow we will be coming with JavaScript APIs, JavaScript functions to use with this SDK. And I will also cover obviously the multiple report, multiple dashboard issue.
Sunny,
Yeah.
can you show the IA server credentials once again?
Actually,
The
this is on a client's machine.
Okay.
And the IT guy maintains all of these things. So
Okay.
I have just taken permission from him to publish for some minutes today. So
Okay.
actually, okay, yeah. So I will also be removing this this deployment from here in some minutes. So just for your checkings, you can check some minutes. Then I have to remove it.
Okay. All right.
But the thing is that I had one thing is that when deployed this solution for testing purposes for some clients, I had to go to the latest version of .NET framework, because previously in my IS server the .NET version was something like 4.6, but for deploying this solution I had to migrate into .NET framework 4.8 probably. I didn't remember the specific version, but I had to do a version improvement as well.
Okay.
This is just for a note, because when you're going to deploy, maybe you need the latest ASP.NET framework version.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so any question from your side?
No.
Not from here. Ishwaran, do you have any question?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Sunny. No questions.
Okay, perfect. So that's all for today. I will be sharing my source code after our conversation so that you can check it. I hope that tomorrow's source code will be more organized, and I will be developing some JavaScript functions inside the source codes so that we can easily use that as some model or blocks of code.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sunny. It was very helpful, and you have organized it very well. So we have covered a lot in 1 hour session.
Yeah,
More
yeah.
than what I
Just
thought.
okay, okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining the session. And tomorrow we'll have some more things to come up. And if by this time, if you can practice by downloading the Visual Studio solution from Microsoft website, that will be great. And just inform me if you have any question.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect. And Sunny, we'll meet same time tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, same time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Sunny.
Yeah,
And talk
thank
to
you
you
very much.
tomorrow. Have a nice
Yeah,
day.
yeah. Nice day, everyone. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks, Ishwaran, for joining.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for attending. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.